The President. Members will please remain standing for the Chief Executive.
行政長官
The Chief Executive. The Chief Executive will first address the Council.
主席女士
Madam President, honorable members, the second term of the Legislative Council is about to conclude its 4 years' work. The past 4 years could be said to be the most trying period for Hong Kong since the reunification in political, economic, and social terms. The circumstantial factors were at their most hostile. The SAR government and the Legislative Council had the support of the public, the central government, mainland provinces and cities, and compatriots. As a result, even in the trying times, we were able to maintain political stability, promote social recovery, and the social atmosphere turned for the better. Taking this opportunity, and on behalf of the SAR government, I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude to all of you here for your effort and contribution to the stability and prosperity of Hong Kong and for the promotion of social progress. On the question of Hong Kong people ruling Hong Kong, one of the core issues is the proper handling of the relations between the executive and the legislature. It's about how, within being in compliance with the basic law provisions and requirement and ensuring an executive-led government, we could allow the Legislative Council to play a full role in monitoring government and in exercising check and balance over the government. In the past 4 years, we've all worked in this direction. We've kept groping along the way and kept taking stock of experience. And this process of exploration and experience accumulation will not stop because the Legislative Council has come to the end of its term. Rather, we will stand firm by the principles of the basic law and the objective of serving the public, and then there will be ample room for development between the relations between the executive and the legislature. Everybody says that I care much about friendship and my friends and acquaintances and people I know, and I am actually like that. And I earnestly hope that in October I'll be able to see many of you back here, and then together we could work for the good of Hong Kong. I'm sure this break will be the busiest and the most exhausting break for many of you here. I ask you to take good care of yourselves, and I wish you all the best. Thank you. Chief Executive will now take questions from members. Mr. Andrew Zhang. Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Tung, this year on the 1st of July, a few 100,000 people took to the street and they shouted the slogan, return power to the people. Now, although the NPCSC has ruled out 0708 universal suffrages, but still in simmering heat, in sweltering heat, people of Hong Kong still took to the street and tried to tell you about their aspirations for universal suffrage. On that evening, most unusually, you responded swiftly, and you said you've heard the voices of the people. But at the same time, you said you had no authority to submit a report to Beijing to reflect these strong aspirations from the people of Hong Kong. Now, on the 6th of April, the NPCSC interpreted the basic law, but in fact, in that interpretation, part of the initiating process lied with you. You had to say. So, what are your statutory powers in that sense? And have you faithfully reflected Hong Kong's people's aspirations to the to the central government? Have you told them that this is the strong wish for you to do that? Otherwise, how can you resolve the crisis of governance for the SAR government? Thank you, Mr. Tong. Well, a week ago, I met with more than 10 of you from the pro-democracy camp, and you asked me to submit a report to the MPCSC urging them to reconsider the decision on 0708 universal suffrages. At the time I said I didn't have the authority to do so. Now you asked me if I really didn't have the power. Now if I could elaborate on what I meant. For the 07 and 08 selection matters for the Legislative Council and the Chief Executive. Now in Annexes 1 and 2 of the Basic Law, and in accordance with that, I have submitted a report to the MPCSC on the 15th of April. I have fully reflected all the views of the people of Hong Kong, including views from quite a number of people about their aspirations for 0708 universal suffrages. The MPCSC, my report, that is the Chief Executive report, and then through various channels, the views of the people of Hong Kong were consulted, and then it arrived at a decision. The interpretation of the Basic Law by the MPCSC is part and parcel of the Basic Law. In accordance with Annexes 1 and 2 and the provisions therein, the MPCSC made an interpretation and came to a decision. The decision is binding on the SAR. In accordance with Article 48(2) of the Basic Law, the Chief Executive is responsible for the implementation of the Basic Law and other laws which in accordance with this law apply in the Hong Kong SAR government. So the Chief Executive is empowered to implement the decision of the MPCSC. And after the MPCSC has made a decision, the duties of the Chief Executive are to implement that decision and be responsible to the central government. The Chief Executive cannot put a request to the NPCSC to amend its decision. The Hong Kong SAR government is now conducting consultation on the selection methods for the 2007 selection of the Chief Executive and the 2008 selection of the Legislative Council. That is a public consultation exercise. And in accordance with the principle of orderly progress and the MPCSC's decision, we are seeking views on possible methods for selection. And I would urge all in the community to actively take part in the consultation exercise being conducted by the SAR government. Mr. Andrew Zheng. Madam President, the core of my question is about the MPCSC's decision and interpretation on the 6th of April. But Mr. Tong, you kept focusing on Article 48(2) of the Basic Law. I'm saying that for the MPCSC's interpretation, in accordance with that interpretation, you are a part of the mechanism to initiate the process. Now, the people want universal suffrage in 07 and 08. You said you will also feel for people's wishes. But the impression it gives is that on the face of it, you seem to be very concerned about public views, but deep down, actually, you are indifferent to their views. If that's the case, you're concerned that you will be laying a time bomb for the SAR government's governance crisis. Now, how many people have to take to the street on the 1st of July before you will side with the public and fight for universal suffrage from the Beijing authorities?
I would like to say this once again. According to the Basic Law, Article 48(2), the Chief Executive is responsible for the implementation of the Basic Law and other laws which in accordance with the law apply in the SAR. And then the CE has this duty to implement the decision of the SC of the NPC. After the SC of the NPC has made a decision, my statutory duty is to implement the decision and be responsible to the Central People's Government for this. I cannot raise any proposal to amend the decision made by the Standing Committee. Your request is to ask me to write another report so that we can ask for an amendment to the decision. This is not something that I can do. I cannot do it. However, I would like to address this issue from another perspective, Mr. Zhang. We have a common goal. That is, ultimately, the CE of the SAR as well as the Legislative Council of the SAR can be returned by universal suffrage. So we do share this common goal, and it is being provided for in the Basic Law. Now, what we are arguing about is the timing, 0708. The NPC has already made a decision about that. However, we can still move towards this direction. So once again, I would like to appeal to you. On the basis of the decision of the Standing Committee of the NPC, please actively take part in the consultation exercise to be carried out by the three-man team under Mr. Zhang, so that we can, in relation to the selection of the CE in 07 and the forming of the LegCo in 08, play an active role so that we can arrive at a consensus. And then I believe that for the sake of the future development, for the arriving at the ultimate goal of universal suffrage, we can lay a good foundation. Mr. Chen Kwok-keung. Thank you, Madam President. The Census and Statistics Department announced to us about the population projection for the next 30 years. It is expected that there will be a negative growth, and then there will be an aging population, there will be more women than men, and the sex imbalance will be more obvious. In relation to family planning, I want to know whether you need to ask for a change in the direction of the strategy. Would you also agree that we should follow overseas countries, that is, introduce incentives to encourage more births? As to the slogan to be adopted by the Family Planning Association, maybe we should change that. Instead of having 2 children in a family, we should have more than 2, and then it is not right not to have children in a family at all. I believe that last month, you read the population figures. Like me, like government colleagues, we become worried. Yes, for the long-term development of Hong Kong, we need vitality to be injected into our economy. And so we need more young people, we need more talents. Therefore, as far as the population policy is concerned, we need to have an overall review. I'm sure Mr. Donald Zhang, the CS4A, will attach a lot of importance to this matter as to how we can take this matter forward. Let's hope that Legislative Council members can also give us a lot of advice so that we can do a good job out of it. Mr. Andrew Wong. Madam President, Mr. Tung. My question is also about 1st of July. It is more lighthearted and it's something within your ability. This year, this is the first time that I took part in a protest. And so somebody has said that, in fact, I've given my first time virginity to the 1st of July rally. But then, of course, I am a man and I gave it to Mr. Sich Tung rather than Mr. Lee Cheuk-yen, who made that comment. Mr. Tung, did you ever consider the following? That is, would you rather move to the former government house so that you work from there and you reside there so that next year when I join the 1st of July rally march, I can end my procession there? I didn't drink before I came, so I will be very serious in my speech. I'm somber. I didn't consider moving back to the government house, But I welcome you at the government house. I would like to meet you there. Just give me a call and that will do. Mr. Andrew Wong, no need to follow up, I think. Mr. P.C. Long. Thank you, Madam President. My question for Mr. Tung is as follows. The professionals recently, in recent years, had to face with the economic transformation in Hong Kong. The market has become mature. Jobs are decreasing in number. For the past few years, we're grateful to the government as well as Mr. Sich Tung for personally looking into the matter and has been expanding the market for professionals. So we're grateful to you, Mr. Tung. Other than the mutual recognition of qualifications, I think what is important is also the lowering of the threshold for us to enter the mainland market. This is quite a big problem. Yes, the central government may want to do it, but then individual professions may still want to protect themselves. So, Mr. Tung, in relation to the expansion of our markets, especially in relation to the lowering of the entry threshold for our professionals, can you do something about it? Thank you. Allowing local professionals to go to the mainland for development is good for Hong Kong. In relation to the future development of our motherland, it will also have a positive effect. Therefore, I'm sure we'll all work hard to achieve that, to make it successful. I understand that in different places, different professions have got different views about this. Some welcome it, some reject the idea. And therefore, in the process of negotiation, sometimes we can move faster in certain areas, but in other areas, the progress isn't so quick. I can assure you that the government attaches a lot of importance to this, and I also regard it seriously. We'll try our best to do it. Mr. Michael Mack. Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Tung. You must have read our SARS report, the report from the Legislative Council. We criticized Dr. Yeo for his communication skills. Now that Dr. Yeo has already resigned, I'm sure you must have read the report in the newspaper, and I would like to ask this question. When you select your candidate, what criteria would you adopt, especially in relation to certain shortcomings of Dr. Yeo as mentioned in the SARS report of the LegCo? So in the process of selection, what are you going to do to take care of this point? In relation to the departure of Dr. Yeo, I find it very regrettable. I think you know that the entire government finds it sad to see his departure. For his 33 years with the government, he has indeed contributed to Hong Kong, especially for the past 2 or 3 years. He is fully dedicated to the fight against diseases. As to his successor, I'm still considering the matter. It is not easy to find a successor. The successor has to face the possibility of the re-emergence of the disease, and then he would be having a very big portfolio, and what is under him will almost affect each and every aspect of any person's life. So we need to consider it in great details. As to the question of criteria and other factors to be considered, I am not prepared to have any public discussion, but I can assure you we will make a prudent choice after careful consideration.
Yeah. Mr. Michael Mack, Madam President, I think the chief executive must have some criteria in his consideration. You're saying that this is a person to oversee such a huge portfolio with a budget of $60 to $70 billion. So you have to tell us what the criteria you will adopt, because there must be some objective criteria. Some have said that you might be eyeing someone in this council. Now, if that's the case, or if you could make public the criteria, might be people want to recommend themselves to you. Well, I am all ears to members' suggestions. As for the criteria, when the time is ripe, I will tell you about them. Mrs. Selina Chow. Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Tung, this year, the tourism sector has rebounded quite phenomenally. And the figures just released show that in May we have record-breaking arrival figure for visitors. Now, we all know that you have done a lot in the area of the individual travel scheme. Wherever we go to the mainland, they have all asked that they should be allowed to join the scheme soon. But of course, we have our considerations too. So my question for you is, Mr. Tung, what are the criteria, and how fast can the major cities be allowed to join the individual travel scheme to Hong Kong? Mrs. Chow, before I take your question, if I could look at the broader picture, if I could tell you that the recovery of the tourism sector has made significant contribution to our economy. And also the tourism sector has been able to provide job opportunities to our low-skilled workers. So that is why the promotion of tourism is a very important task for the SAR government. I've just been looking at statistics by 2011. Now, starting from 1997 to now, the visitor arrival numbers have increased from 11 million to 20.5 million, an increase of over 80%. And by 2011, it could go up to 36 or 37 million arrivals. Looking at the figures, now if their arrival figure is going to soar so much, it's possible that could create 50,000 jobs. And I must stress that this creation of jobs is very important for Hong Kong, and so it shows how important it is to promote tourism for Hong Kong. We will do our level best, and I understand you are also putting in your best in this task, and I see there are new attractions coming on stream, and they will make Hong Kong even more appealing. Recently, many mainland provincial and municipal officials passed by Hong Kong. I had a chance to meet them, and they asked that the individual travel scheme be opened up to their places as soon as possible. Now, at our end, if we are able to open up the scheme further and sooner, that would be best. But at the same time, we have to consider the capacity of Hong Kong. We have to take it step by step to increase the number of, to expand the scheme. Now, Mr. Ambrose Lee is here, and my other colleagues. We are actually weighing the situation very carefully to see how fast we could expand the scheme. And as I've told you, every time when I met with Premier Wan, he said, well, you really must take a good look at your capacity to see how many new visitors you could take on when you try consider opening the scheme. So that's why we are always assessing the situation, and then we reflect the position to the central authority. So I can't really tell you at this point. Mrs. Chow? Now, on the selection of cities and the priority to be accorded, what are the most important considerations? Because from Hong Kong's point of view, of course, you would like you to consider cities with more economic activities first. So have you done any such assessment before you make your decisions? Well, there are several considerations. Economic vibrancy, we're talking about those cities that are more economically vibrant, and also cities more closely linked to Hong Kong, and also cities with better transport arrangements with Hong Kong, better transport links with Hong Kong. So every time when we open up the scheme to another province or city, we will look at the potential number of arrivals and see if we could manage that. So these are all the factors we will consider. Mr. Chee-hwa. Mr. Tung, at the government headquarters, there is the security office. Is there any plan to expand its manpower, the security wing, so that you could step up monitoring and surveillance of the security situation, like what the Hong Kong British administration used to do? And if there is plan to expand this wing, security wing, how can you ensure that its work will not infringe on privacy and that it will not conduct its affairs in any improper means? Mr. Chee-hwa, the answer is simple no. We have no such plans. Mr. Chee-hwa. Now for the police headquarters and the total size of the police force, is there any plan to increase the size of the police force? Well, as you are aware, we are trying to cut expenditure on all fronts across the board, and it's the same for the disciplined services. But I would like to tell you that to maintain law and order and public order in Hong Kong, well, these are important considerations too in this exercise. Mr. Jasper Tsang. Well, the Council has just passed a bill to implement school-based management, and this issue has sparked strong reactions from some school sponsoring bodies, and some of these school sponsoring bodies have had a long history in Hong Kong in running schools. They've played an important role in the education sector. So have you fully assessed the situation? And if this issue might become an obstacle in the government's implementation of education policies in future, and have you considered any ways to build a good partnership with these SSBs? Now for the school-based management bill, well, after a rather lengthy period of debate and discussion passed, we will do even better in that area, and so that they could appreciate the good intentions of government, and then we could work together to improve education in Hong Kong further.
Mr. Chan, some school sponsoring bodies, through their officers in charge, have said that they are concerned that maybe the SARG would like to reduce its dependence on such SSBs. That means a departure from the existing policies. In other words, a diminished role of the SSBs in the educational system of Hong Kong. So, Mr. Tung, in fact, just now you have already given recognition to their achievement. So, are you really changing their role, their status? No change at all. We hope that we can enhance our communication. Mr. Chung, I would like to make a point in relation to this issue that is concerning the reform of primary and secondary school education in Hong Kong. Recently, in relation to the school reform and educational reform, I met with some overseas experts. Some overseas experts and many experts are observing our educational reform. I met a director from Shanghai, and he has been responsible for the education reform in Shanghai, and he carried out some research for the EMB schools in Hong Kong. has got many part on it. Dr. Raymond Ho, thank you, Madam President. In this chamber, I made this point to Mr. Tung for many times. In the engineering field, we have got 300,000 professionals, semi-skilled workers and skilled workers, and 1 million people altogether to be affected by their poor business when we take into account their family members as well. And we understand that a lot of them are underemployed. According to the circular issued by the FSTB, understand that there are certain requirements. In paragraph 38 of this year's policy address, you have said that government departments must first of all make sure that recurrent resources available are assured before any department can start any work. Now, it seems that nobody is taking care of this matter, and you just overlook the anxiety of the engineering field, and you don't know that in fact there is a crisis concerning their underemployment. So you're concerned about the civil servants, you're also concerned about your constituency. So about the civil servants, I want to make a point. Yes, Hong Kong. Of morale is something important to Hong Kong. I'm sure the civil service as a whole would also like to move ahead with the times in their service to the public, and they want to improve their service as well. I want to highlight this point. This is because sometimes we take things for granted. We thought that civil servants are always there and they just work and work. But in fact, they're very important to the stability of Hong Kong. As to the question of certain individuals that you refer to in your question, I can appreciate that point. Yes, there are some problems emerging from the economic transformation. The good point is that we are already reaching the end of the transformation process. As to the problem that you face, is it as bad as what you depicted a year ago?
Dr. Ho. Well, perhaps Mr. Tung is under too much work pressure recently. I'm not just talking about the civil servants, I'm talking about the engineering and construction sector. Together with the families, they are a population of 1 million. I'm sure Mr. Lau Ping-cheung is asking the same question. So you're not talking about civil servants yet? No, I'm talking about the engineering sector. You know, outside there are a lot of demonstrators. Perhaps so your attention has been drawn somewhere else. I'm talking about in the engineering construction sector, there are 1 million people being affected. And you are right to say it's near the end, it's terminal. The situation is almost terminal. the unemployment rate is over 20%, and that's government statistics, not our statistics. And we've been telling the government about that, but still the government would not address the crux of the matter. And many of the government projects could not proceed because the departments have to make sure that they could secure the recurrent expenditure before they could embark on any capital projects. Because in paragraph 33 of the policy address, you say that you say that departments must make sure they could secure the provisions for recurring expenditure before they embark on any capital projects. And I've been talking about this for a long time, and I approach any government officials, they all just pass the buck on. So you are quite right to say the sector is in a terminal stage. Well, last year I had a discussion on this matter. Last week, actually, we have $29.4 billion on infrastructural projects, and we are rolling out the project one by one. Actually, cost has come down because of deflation, so we haven't really exhausted all the funds. But we are rolling out the projects one by one. Now you mentioned that because some departments could not secure the recurring expenditure, and so the infrastructural projects could not proceed, but that will not be the case. These projects will still go ahead, and there will be provisions for recurring expenditure for these projects. Well, I would think that the problem we face now is that in major economic transformation, costs are coming down. So when you look at the whole construction sector, including engineers, workers, and so on, you said, yes, altogether they amount to 300,000 people. You're right. And about 100,000 of them are out of work. And that's because we are in the middle of an economic transformation. And actually, I kept asking my colleagues, what should we do? Because if we just rely on the government to roll out infrastructural projects, would that really address the problem? Because here we are talking about a more fundamental problem of an economic transformation. So where can we help? Now, if we could start urban redevelopment, we could speed that up, it will help. And if in the old districts we could start repair works, because in Mong Kok we've started some pilot projects, we could speed that up again, that will yield results. But, you know, as far as old urban areas redevelopment is concerned, our existing law would not help to speed up that process. Now, how can we speed up urban redevelopment? How can we speed up repair works in old districts? Now, we could do that. That would actually help to address this problem. Another point we've considered, if the government could save some money, that is, there is some money to spare from the $29 billion, how can we roll out more projects? Now, that's something we are looking into as well. Sorry, no, Dr. Ho, you have already asked a supplementary question. Please be seated. Please be seated. Dr. Ho, sorry. Dr. Eric Lee. Mr. Tong, the chairman of the House Committee, say that I'm always concerned about figures and accounts. Now, last time when we met with you, you issued a rain check. I don't think that's been made good yet. That is about taking on board the views of the middle class. What's the result? You said you were not happy at that time with the progress made in looking into the issue and so on, and so more needs to be done. Now, I agree with you. It's very difficult to satisfy the middle class. Now, the business sector or the grassroots sector could always ask you for certain incentives, but for the middle class, they give a lot, but they get very little back, because they don't enjoy the welfare and they're not used to asking for favors or anyway. So have you come up with any good measures that could help secure their support for your policies? I think, in terms of garnering support from the middle class, I think what is important is that we continue to work hard to improve our policies and governance. And then we should try to include as many members of the middle class as possible in our advisory structure so that they could all play a part in discussing policies. Now, on this question, recently, you have seen we have appointed people to the Harbour Enhancement Committee or the Economic and Employment Council or the Task Force on Training for Young People and ensuring continuous employment and so on. All these bodies. You can see we are trying to include more talents and more members of the middle class into the institutional setup. But then our progress is rather slow, but this is something we will speed up in the next few months as a matter of priority. Now, but I think for the middle class, what is important is that while we are in the process of economic transformation, we must make them feel that they have a chance to break new ground for themselves, and that's something we need to do to work on. Dr. Lee. Well, I understand the middle class has a lot of different views, but it doesn't matter what their views are. More people seem to come to believe that for the in the middle class, they do have certain core values. Would the government study what these core values are? Well, you might have heard different views from different members of the middle class in different forums, but can their views really reflect the core values of the middle class, and can you also reflect these core values in your policies? Now, some time ago, I met a group led by Professor Anthony Cheung on defending core values. I had a chat with them. Now, for the core values of Hong Kong, some have been mentioned by that group, and we all share those values. And I've said that actually they are our lifeline. That's why we must defend those values at all cost and resolutely. Now, of course, different people have come from different backgrounds. They may have been to different places. They have different experiences. On certain core values, they may have different views. So I think the community should discuss such issues more extensively and widely, and I'm sure they will help to promote social cohesion. To us, our core values are our lifeline, and we will definitely defend them. Mr. James Tan. Mr. Tong, last Friday I moved a motion in this council asking the SAR government to help enhance communication between the pro-democracy camp and the central government. On the one hand, it's hope that they could get their home visit permit so that they could visit mainland and learn more about our motherland. Now, on this issue, do you have a timetable? Now, and of course, the pro-democracy camp hasn't adopted my suggestion to you. That is, you should first start with the more moderate Democrats first. But I think there is a matter of urgency, because if you arrange for Mr. Andrew Cheng, Mr. Lee Cheuk-yan, and Miss Emily Lau, and others from the New Territories, East and West to go to mainland and make them stay there until after the 13th of September, that would be great. So what's the chance of that happening?
We need to be very careful. So there's a conspiracy between the Liberal Party and the CE. On the question of the home visit permits, I've already referred to that many times. I will be working on it actively. It may take some time, but I will be working on it very positively. Let's do our utmost. Let's hope that we can find a very quick solution. Mr. James Tan, I'm sorry, just now I was cracking a joke. When you refer to being as soon as possible, of course, I cannot be too hopeful about having it before September. Would you like to give us a timetable after September, before end of the year? So can you name a timetable so that we can have something to hope for? No, I can't give a timetable. What I can say is that we are working on it positively. I'm sure you can observe that something is going on. It takes time. We are working on it. Mr. Wang Xinqi. Thank you, Madam President. Mr. Tung, last time when the Democratic Party members met with you, we already raised this point. In 1997, some residents moved into Tongchong, and they were sort of like the pioneers. And then in Taiho, we were supposed to build the North Lantau Hospital there. And we have been promised that the hospital will be ready in year 2007. Now, I understand that that site will be turned into a value-added logistics park. It has been rumored that some of your family members would be party to this value-added logistics park. So where are we going to have the hospital? Maybe it will only start work in the year 2007 and takes 4 or 5 years. In other words, residents have to wait for 10 years before they get their own Tongchong hospital. Nowadays, it is a great inconvenience to ask sick patients to travel to Princess Margaret Hospital to seek treatment. Now that this new park will be completed next year, and then we have also got the airport near to Tongchong, so it is very important to have a hospital ready soon. So do you agree that we need a hospital there? We need it early. So have you got a plan so that we can improve the medical services there? Thank you. Last time you raised this point with me, and the first thing that I said was that I talked to my younger brother. I asked him, what's the matter? And I can assure you that the rumor wasn't true, and I believe that this is not the case. So this is the first point. As to the second point, you referred to the hospital proposal in Tongchong or North Lantau. In fact, this proposal has also been made by some other political parties. Before Dr. Yeo tendered his resignation, we already studied the issue, and I hope that he will soon give me an answer, and then I'll give you an answer. Mr. Wong. Well, in this case, Tongchong residents would become very unhappy. Yes, you promised a hospital, but then right now, many people need medical services. So have you talked to Dr. Yeo as to what can be done to improve the services so that their impending needs can be addressed? We did have concrete discussion. But then we didn't start talking about that a long time ago. So please give us some time before we can give you an answer. Mr. Ma Fung Kwok. Thank you, Madam President. The Culture Commission, the Culture and Heritage Commission submitted a report to the government. And I understand from the response on the part of the administration that some proposals will be taken on board. Say, for example, a library council or committee, and also another committee on museums. I want to know when the government is going to implement the various recommendations. I didn't have time to follow up on this issue, but I know that there are such recommendations, but I didn't have time to find out what the timetable would be like. I will invite Dr. Patrick Ho to take up this matter with you. I'm sure we can conceive a timetable, and then we can talk to the cultural sector. Of course, we need to take into account other factors of consideration within the government. Mr. Ma, so there won't be a timetable in the near future. It takes time to set up such bodies. The CHC has already seen its term being expired. So, Mr. Tung, in the interim, would you consider setting up a similarly high-level body to oversee cultural matters. I will follow up on this issue, and I will then give you a more detailed reply. Thank you. Mr. Tam Yu-chung. Madam President, I want to ask the CE this question. As far as the accountability system is concerned, it's been up and running for 2 years, and the accountability system has brought about some expectations on the part of the public. When something major happens, then the public would expect the responsible officials to realize their accountability and ask for them to step down. So, Mr. Tung, when are you going to review the accountability system? Have you learned from any experience? Have you identified any areas for improvement? And what is the direction of the future development? As far as the accountability system is concerned, principal officials as well as the administration internally carry out a review continuously. Well, the accountability system is something inevitable as part of the political development of Hong Kong. It addresses the public aspiration to have a higher degree of accountability on the part of the officials. And as a result of this system, we can have a team of officials who share common visions and a team of officials who have leadership skills that can deal with the various problems that Hong Kong faces as well as the various challenges that we face. The accountability system has only been in operation for 2 years in Hong Kong. 2 years is a short period in history. It takes a long time before an accountability system can mature and be improved to allow it to operate in the best fashion. Even for the past 2 years, the accountability system has been progressing all the time. But it is true that there is still room for improvement. In terms of cooperation of the leadership and in terms of our cooperation, I think we have seen improvement. And then for the administration's grasp of the political reality, I think we have seen an improvement. Coordination of different policies has also been enhanced, and the awareness of accountability on the part of the government has also been much enhanced. We would continue to work hard. We will do our best in all such areas. As to the areas where we need to do more and better, we need to provide more resources to the officials. We need to enhance the political work, and we should improve the working relationship between the officials and the civil service, and we should better coordinate the various disciplines and policies. And then we should expand the public support to the government, and we should also enhance public policy research. We should also enhance consultation, and we should also make sure that the accountability system officials can do more in consultation. I think we should work hard and work more in such areas. But ultimately, the success of the accountability system depends on whether we can train up more politicians who are willing to join the government. And we must also have a force in the Legislative Council who would be supporting the government firmly. We need to accomplish such tasks one by one. Mr. Tam Yu-chung. There has been the proposal to set up deputy secretary posts, and also do you think that it will be getting more and more difficult to identify candidates who are willing to take up the post of accountability system officials? Mr. Tam, yes, for the past 2 years, I think this has even been so right in the beginning. It won't be an easy task to find somebody who's willing to be a principal official of the accountability system. But I still believe that in Hong Kong, we have got the people of the right caliber who are willing to dedicate their efforts for the sake of the society.
The chief executive is now 4 o'clock. 15 members have asked questions, and another 11 members are on the list. Now, this is the last question time, in this term. So can we take 18 questions, all together? But there's still dinner because you're treating me to dinner. Okay, then, Ms. Emily Lau. Madam President, about 0708 universal suffrages. Now, recently, I've had 2 opportunities to meet with the chief executive. He said he had no authority to raise the matter again to the central authorities. But can I ask the chief executive to tell this council and members of the public that if he is aware that many people, a large number of people in Hong Kong who aspire for universal suffrage, and does he agree that we are ready for universal suffrage? We have all the conditions, and it's not, as someone have put it, that it's not in line with the long-term interest of Hong Kong. So would you review the situation, and when you go to Beijing, would you go to Beijing and tell them that in Hong Kong there should be universal suffrages, and can you urge the NPC to reconsider the matter? This is the 3rd time I discussed this matter with you. The first time, the pro-democracy camp came to meet with me, and the last week, the 2nd time, the frontier members came to talk to me, and so this is the 3rd time. Actually, we have heard clearly the aspirations of the people. But what we have to consider, and which is also what the central authorities have to consider, is the overall and long-term interest. I told you the other day that we are part of the country, and we do anything that touches on the relations between the central authorities and the SAR, then there are many factors to consider. We have to consider these matters from the point of view of the country. We can't just look at these matters from the point of view of Hong Kong. If we just look at it from Hong Kong's perspective, then I can tell you that if you have views, I will faithfully forward the views. And if you have any ideas, any comments, I will faithfully reflect those comments. But then it is a separate matter to prepare another report to amend a decision. Now, if I could tell you, last time actually I said this already, we must fully appreciate the international, the global conditions, and so on, the need for the country to defend its sovereignty, the challenges the country faces, and the importance of maintaining stability of the Chinese race, and as the Chinese race moves towards prosperity. So what are the obstacles in that process? And what about the interests of our mainland compatriots, and what impact there could be on the mainland? So we can't just look at everything from Hong Kong's perspective alone. We have to look at matters from the country's perspective. Then that would greatly help communication on the one hand, and on the other, then you would come to understand why the central makes certain policies. Now, the arrangement made by the central government is for the long-term interest of Hong Kong, and I could fully appreciate that. Ms. Lau, well, I've heard the chief executive twice, but I still don't quite get it. Why is it that if in Hong Kong we have one person vote, we have universal and equal election to elect the chief executive and all members of the Legislative Council, and if we do that, how come it is not in line with the long-term overall interest of the country? Now, the chief executive has mentioned a number of factors. Why is it that a popularly elected SAR government would affect the stability, the security, and the prosperity of the country? I think the chief executive must explain that to the people of Hong Kong, because the chief executive himself has accepted that most people in Hong Kong aspire for universal suffrage, and they do not want anything bad to happen to the country. So how come the SAR government how come the SAR is not helping the promotion of democracy in the country? How come we do that? It will have such a serious impact on the long-term development of the country. Ms. Lau, I was talking in general terms. Whatever we do, we must always bear in mind one country before the two systems could be enhanced. So that's the broad principle. I think the question you asked has to be because there is not enough communication, so we need to enhance communication. Dr. David Chu. Thank you, Madam President. Last year in LegCo, I moved a motion to support the middle class. Just now, when you answered Dr. Eric Lee's question, you said that recently you have invited more members of the middle class to join various advisory bodies. So their views now could be raised, and if they accepted by the government, and then they are translated into government policies, and then they are passed by Legislative Council before they're actually implemented. That will be a lengthy process. Now, the government is actively considering the sales tax, and that would be a major matter that will add to the burden of the middle class. So in the past 1 year or in the near future, what concrete actions will the government take to help the middle class? Thank you. On sales tax, the government has not come to any final decision. The government is considering if we should have a sales tax, what the impact would be. So we haven't had a final decision yet. But of course, we would further and more extensively talk to the public if we do have this inclination. What we can do for the middle class, I think the most important is that we could ensure a sustained economic growth so that the opportunities will be there for the middle class, because all they need is opportunities, so that as our economy continues to grow, then they'll be able to strive for what they aspire to achieve. That's what we could do for them. Last question from Mr. Fred Lee.
Last Saturday, Mr. Tong, I visited some surplus teachers who have been on a hunger strike for 24 hours. This is already the second time that they were on hunger strikes. I promised them that I should ask this question on their behalf. Now, surplus teachers have become a very great problem. Now, every year when we have got so many surplus teachers losing jobs, then that would destabilize the educational sector. So has the administration faced the problem squarely, and do you have any short-term and long-term measures to make sure that teachers have their minds at ease, and this would also help to stabilize the educational sector? Did Mr. Chairman Kong ask you to put this question to me? Mr. Lee, thank you for giving me this opportunity to allow me to address this issue. In fact, it is a matter of concern to me. As a result of the reduction in the population size, we have now got a problem of surplus teachers. Yes, it has dealt a blow to the morale of the teachers. Dr. Avali, the Secretary for Education and Manpower, as well as other colleagues, are thinking hard to find a solution. Well, it isn't just a current problem that we are facing. The population will be reducing in size, so the same problem will emerge to next year and the year after next. So we need to find a long-term solution. But on the other hand, as I have already said, I in fact referred to Mr. Zhang Minsheng from Shanghai. He had criticized us for allowing teachers to teach too many classes. So maybe we should also bear this point in mind. Maybe we can enhance our quality, and we could also enhance the level of professionalism, so that ultimately we can have a positive impact on our educational reform. So this will be an opportunity. It is something that we must think thoroughly for the sake of the long-term development of our education in Hong Kong. Mr. Fred Lee, well, this is a slip from Mr. Chairman Kwong. In fact, you know this, and then Mr. Chairman Kwong has also guessed correctly your answer. So I just read out his follow-up question. Mr. Chong, you have said that the student population is decreasing, and that's why we've got this problem. But then for this declining trend, against this declining trend, can you not adjust the pace of building new schools so that we can also address the problem? And can you also not introduce small class teaching so that we can reduce the number of students in a class, and then teachers can enhance the qualities, and then we can have a win-win situation and parents don't need to worry anymore? I have my view on all such matters, but I don't think I can make myself clear in a word or two. It is something that we have to find time to have a thorough discussion. I look forward to having a meeting with you in the near future and talk about this. Thank you, CE, for answering questions from 18 members. Thank you very much. The CE will now leave the chamber. Will members please stand? Members, this is the last meeting of this term of the LegCo. I look forward to seeing you again.